Hi everyone, it's the Music Reel and it's Nicola Burton from Music Means Business. I have Manny and Mark with me from the Pushworth Group and a very special guest. We have John Yost from Rockstar Productions. Now, John is the guy that we go to if we want things to sound good. So he is, the productions that he provides for festivals and special events and corporate gigs and tours and anything that we need to sound good. He's our go-to guy. So John, you've been, I think Rockstar Productions started about, 2004, 2005?
It's hard to remember back when, but I think when I started doing it, probably about 12 years ago.
Yeah, so we've been working with you all of that time, and there's so many production companies out there, but we know that when we work with you, it's actually going to sound good, and it's not just about the sound. It's like everything that can fuck up, that will fuck up at a live show, and you guys know how to deal with that. So John, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you going in lockdown?
Well, in lockdown, we've actually been doing okay as far as keeping busy. We moved into a new 260 square meter facility 6 weeks ago. So we spent the last 6 weeks just refurbing. So it's like nothing's changed with us as far as being busy. Although we know that there's no shows on for the short term, and we've just been spending every spare minute getting the gear ready, reviewing processes, reviewing everything we're doing to try to, as they say, build a better mousetrap for once things open up.
That is a really great way of saying it. Building a better mousetrap for when it opens up. That's a t-shirt. Yeah. I love it.
It's an old saying.
It's great. I love it. Over to you, Mark.
Right. John, so I guess my question to you today would be, what do you see for the future of your industry post-lockdown moving forward?
Well, I think I see a slow start, of course, and I see that we always have to. We have got three bosses when we're out doing jobs: the artist, the audience, and the venue. So, and I think we're probably going to have some restrictions in place, and that we're going to have a part to play on it all opening up properly once it does. So that's the only difference that I see. I think that we're probably going to have to attend to some of the protocols that are going to come into place once we start opening back up for business.
Yeah, whatever they may be.
Yeah, social distancing.
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
So I'm assuming in terms of cleaning, you guys would have to have an additional practice that you'd have to put in place, keeping, I guess, you're going to deal with the microphones, the leads, the gear.
Yeah, and one thing I could probably say that I truly believe that that most professional bands out there, lead vocalists, they should have been carrying their microphones, their own personal microphone, for the last 5 years, because there is a hygiene situation, especially a multi-use festival where you could have 20 people singing out of the same mic. And and me knowing that some of the people that I deal with, like for instance John Stevens, what have you, I think he goes through a microphone once every 3 shows. They got to replace his microphone just from all the the moisture content that gets in there. So it's a significant factor that it should be addressed even if we weren't in this situation.
So moving forward, perhaps vocalists out there, go to your music shop, buy a really good mic and take it with you to every festival. I think that's a good practice. Yeah, good on you, John. Yeah,
absolutely. Because what can we do at a festival? What, spray some Glen on there?
Yeah.
It's not. There's no guarantee there. It's going to make it smell nice. It's going to give you a false sense of security.
God, I remember the days of boiling the top of the microphone. We used to do that after a few gigs, didn't we, Manny? Boil the strings and boil the top of the microphone.
Boil the bass strings and boil the actual, take off the head of the microphone. You'd wash down the actual sponge insert, and then you'd boil up the actual, head of the screw-on head of the microphone, and that's what we did when we were touring. To sort of, to sterilize it was probably the only way. And then during the course of the gig, if you were sharing, you would yeah, we would have a can of Glen 20 with us as well, while we were on the road. So I guess while I've got you, John, probably 10 score and 100 years ago, I guess when we first started in the industry, I'm not sure whether you were in the same place we were at that time frame. Everything was big, huge, and everything was black, and everything was incredibly heavy. For massive systems that we carted around when we were touring. And I guess when we started, touring in a regional bands and garnering support of other bands, it was very interesting, because what we had to do was we had to supply loaders or or assist with the loading in of the feature band PA system, and to a certain extent, rigging, or, like assisting with the rigging of lights and setting up. And that way we would be able to utilize, I guess, the road crew for the feature band to actually do sound and lights for us. And that was the part and course. And I guess in a roundabout way, it was very interesting, because it highly educated us as to how the mechanism came together, how this semi-trailer worth of gear, sometimes 2 semi-trailers worth of gear, would rock up to a gig or an outdoor event, and how it all came together. So it was a really highly educated process for a young band to actually see how many moving parts were involved to setting up a PA system, a light show, and what the end result was. So there was a massive work behind a 60-minute set plus 1 support band for another 30, 40 minutes. It was absolutely incredible. So in this day and age, that has shifted, obviously. So part one to the question is, in this day and age, how are you finding young support bands? Do they have an understanding of how it really works if they haven't really assisted with the setup? And that was like a baptism of fire for us as a young touring band. And the second part to the question is, big box technology and movement of those big, huge, lumbering cases, where you would need 4 people to move a sub cabinet or load a sub cabinet, versus small box technology of this era, with digital processors and things being far more efficient. What's the sound difference? So part one is young bands and what they know, and support bands and how they assist you, if they assist you in this day and age. And secondly, how you've seen the technology shift over the last 20 years, like in terms of sizes of PA system and sound pressure levels, created by small box systems. Is there a major shift in sound?
Well, I'd like to start off with, we've in the past few years have done probably about 300 shows a year plus. In doing that, we've got to be, a lot of preparation has to take place beforehand. In that preparation, we've got to make sure we got it right. So when we're able to go out to a venue, we get it right the first time. A lot of times, many times, we have a short window to set up, get sound checked. And there's a cost component on it. We've got to come in at an industry standard, but at the same time, our goal is to provide the utmost in sound quality and lighting. So it's one actually opposes the other. You want to keep your costs down, but then again, you want to provide the highest quality sound and lighting, which costs a lot of money. And we have adopted that years ago with basically a company policy that we want, and we spent all of our income that we generally make a year in improving our equipment and upgrading equipment to something that is lighter, faster to deploy, easier on the back, easier on the truck pack. We've adopted that philosophy that we need to, and that goes back to the building a better mousetrap as well. If we could get a sub with the same output, smaller cabinet, that's what we're doing. We constantly look in that way. In addition to even our mixing consoles, for us, all the modern ones are relatively good. We've chose one brand, Allen and Heath, where we've got 6 digital consoles, all the same. So every engineer that goes out, he's not using a different one. He's using all. It's like, oh yeah, I know that one. It's this model. It's that model.
Yeah.
But it's all relatively easy for all of our engineers to go out and use, because that's all we do use. And it's not merely to because we want that's brand's the only brand, but we want to make it more efficient for the and a easier learning curve for the sound tech to go out and do a great job every night.
Yeah.
So that's the reason we went down that route. It's really, really important for us. Many times we go into a venue where we've got 15 minutes to sound check and pull a sound and move on. The band rider's already arrived. The guys on each are not really interested in doing a sound check. Or we've heard this saying before, we don't need to do a sound check because you know our sound. You've done us before. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I've heard that once. But so to answer your question, yes, we've noticed a big difference, throughout the years. And I think the technology has increased greatly, but the lag has been to the people that use the technology to be up to speed with the technology and know how to, you can get in trouble very quickly with the technology if you don't know enough about it. And I think with this downtime that we've had, I think is really doing the people who are who use this downtime to actually invest more of their own personal time in the technology that we already have. So when we come out of it, we just know a lot more about it and able to put us on even a better playing field, especially in terms of the digital consoles where you don't need any of this, all the outboard processing's inside. As far as the bands go, I have not encountered bands helping set up the gear or helping out, or they generally don't know enough about it. But what I do say is some of the old timers in the industry, they know and respect what a sound guy can do for them, and they're really on board with working with the sound guy to ensure that they're doing what they can do to get the best outcome out front for the front of the house guy.
I'm sort of finding a lot of these. Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
I'm just finding a lot of the younger guys don't really have a broad knowledge of what it is to create a really concert environment. So they become very self-reliant on other people to actually impart their wisdom as to where they should be going with it. Whereas I guess my era, it was a baptism of fire. So we had a very good understanding after setting up a rig, understanding the process of sound check, making sure all the lines are active, all the leads are gaffed down so that you don't kick out a PowerPoint or etc. So these young guys in this era, I guess, learning as they go along, and they're very reliant on other people, like imparting wisdom of the past. So I've just seen a shifting of that when it comes to young bands learning about production values at the moment. So look, thank you for your insights, John. That's fantastic. And I've got one more question. How long have you had a mullet hairdo?
Well, I had the mullet for practically my whole life. There's been some years they didn't have it, but yeah, it goes with the business name, and I'm frankly afraid I'd lose my mojo if I cut it off. So yeah.
Don't lose it, John. It's your brand. It is your brand. We love it. But look, thank you for that explanation, because as Manny said, a lot of the younger artists coming up in the ranks haven't had the opportunities that we did to go out there and like help set up like you guys. I mean, we had a saying, shit on stage, shit off stage. And, if you don't know how to tune and like, how it all works together in a holistic way, no sound guy's going to be able to help you sound better. Well,
yes. And that's the most important thing is for a band is to have the control of their own sound first and let the sound tech do the job to make them sound great. And they might even do them a benefit to go up and talk to the sound guy. The sound guy has a lot of insight perhaps has done a lot of great bands, and really can look at them and maybe give them some advice on how to improve.
Yeah, I think our sound guy probably forged the careers of thousands of people, just because having that advice, that insight from, because you have done tens of thousands of shows over the last 2 decades. Your insight and your knowledge can really benefit artists. So when this is all unlocked and you're working with John, go and have a chat to him, because he is the key to you understanding how to put on a better show. And we're in such good hands when we work with you, John. Thank you for all that you've contributed to this industry. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and lovely doing business with the Pushworth Group and all your artists. It's been a great ride. I look forward to many more years of rocking on.
Yeah, well, hopefully this lockdown will be soon. Look at Mark.
Rock on, John.
I'll leave it at that. We're going to leave the rock gods and your mullet, and we're going to all go back. John, it was great to talk to you, boys. Lovely as usual, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, everyone. Bye.